Oh, wait.
I was open meetings with the
Let's pray. Dear gracious Father, thank you for allowing us to gather here today. We thank you for all the blessings of life that you bestow upon us. Just ask that you be with all those in the community that are hurting at time of need. Just give them an extra dose of grace and watch over us, keep us safe. Help us with the decisions that we make for the county, and just let us do everything pleasing to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, sir. I think we did. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming a little bit early tonight. It's much appreciated. Go through and call the roll. So, Ms. Bechtel?
Here.
Ms. Cookenbook?
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Cox? Mr. Booth? And Mr. Turner. All right. Full count. Thank you.
I'd like to make an addition.
Okay.
For new business to discuss some appropriations.
motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion to approve the agenda for June 27th, 2023, as amended with the addition of 13B related to appropriations, Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and Mr. Turner.
Yes.
All right, it is approved.
Next step would be the approval of the disbursements.
Kim, I can't find it. Can you locate it?
I could try, sure.
Sir?
I don't think through a PDF.
The mighty 30.
Sure, the old one.
I saw it in the first disbursements. Yeah, right. Right.
Well.
Here?
See a 1258.
Just
Oh, what?
out there.
Try to search that, see if that comes up, just to see if it'll work for me. 0641.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's not there.
It was something that was just sent out within the last 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So it should be there.
I don't see it in either one. That's fine with me.
That's right, good.
Saves a lot of.
Party. She says it was sent out then.
No. It was received. I'm sorry, I
received.
misunderstood.
Okay. Right. I do have a question on the second batch,
Mm-hmm.
under,
What
there's
page?
a page, page one. We have some debits on the right-hand side, 990, 553, 69, with minus. And we don't normally see that.
That's a credit that we received.
Very nice, I love credit.
That was for training for one of the transfer stations individual. They didn't do the second round of training, so we got credited for that. Thanks to Sydney and Mark.
So, even though it shows a minus, it's actually a credit.
Correct.
Okay.
Remember on our system,
Right.
Bright shows negative as revenue.
That's right. Does it every time.
It's pure joy for me.
Yeah.
Make a motion that you approve both sets.
I'll second.
Right, on the motion to approve both sets of disbursements as presented, Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and Mr. Turner.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Your disbursements are approved.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes, they were.
Correction?
One correction for me.
Dang.
It's the,
Okay.
May 23rd. I had car trouble and I was late. It shows me arriving at 7:04, but I think it was 8:04.
No.
Cause I missed the, I was, yeah, it was, the
Yeah.
meeting started at 6 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah.
We're good. I keep thinking we start at 7 even though we're here at 5:30.
Yeah, revisit that.
Yes.
Take a motion to approve.
Okay. Who made the
Then
motion?
Jerry,
Jerry first, approve the minutes?
Second.
I will make a motion.
Okay, on the motion to approve the minutes of the following dates.
321, 411, 523, and 613 of 2023.
On that motion, Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and Mr. Turner.
yes.
All right, thank you. All of those minutes are approved and we will. Good.
That's right.
So,
Thank you.
And really, I just say it's a personal privilege. Really appreciate you all's willingness to change the format and it helps. So thank you. And
That brings up Mr. Well and Mr. Willard and some guy with him walking down the street. I just want to say, the only reason we talked to y'all is after I insulted a man that made 5 different pretzels out of me, you know, really. And I told me he drove her. Anyway, we were good term.
Yep.
News reports and different stuff about catching the fire. You know what really tripped the switch was when we got the electric school buses. And I have a big problem with that until they do some more study on them buses and even cars. You know, like some of us stalking, they quit making F-150 hybrid because all of them kept catching fire. And then I got to think about the first responders that gets there, you know, on these cars and stuff. We just want to get a heads up and a head start on what we may be needing on down the road. That's why the next budget we can start working on, you know, getting stuff in order, you know. Easier to get ahead than it is to catch up.
Sure.
What y'all's thoughts?
Tony's he's kind of ahead of the ball game here. He's already got some supplies to take care of the problem. So with that said, he's done a lot of research. Nathan has too. We'll turn it over to them, and if there's anything left, I'll speak, but these are the experts.
Well, for what I can find out, there are no experts yet. The questions you ask about the situation, the less answers you get, but I'm kind of like you, I've been concerned about it since these things have been coming out, so we went ahead and purchased a blanket. They're called a fire blanket. To me, it seems like the quickest resolution to an electric vehicle fire. But there's no guarantees on it either. But we did go ahead and purchase a one-time use one. They make several types. This one is a one-time use, and it goes with the vehicle when it goes down the road. And as far as training, let me read you something real quick on the training so we can get that squared away. Firefighters training, this is a July issue of Commonwealth Fire Chief, which I take all the time. This is just July issue. Firefighters training program on risk of electric vehicle fires. Delegate O'Quinn provides that the executive director of the Department of Fire Program shall have the power to develop a training program on the risk of fires in electric vehicles and how to safely and effectively manage such fires, to be completed by all firefighters, including volunteer firefighters. It requires the executive director to make such training program available by July 1st, 2024. The bill also requires all firefighters, including volunteer firefighters, to complete such training program, and I'll stop there and assure you, and Nathan will too, that we will do it once it becomes available. There's no question about that. The provisions of the bill requiring all firefighters to complete such training program have a delayed effective date of July 1st, 2024, and the bill requires every person engaged in firefighting activities on July 1st, 2024 to complete such training program by December 1st, 2025. So it's going to take a while for them to get a state-approved system on it. This bill passed the Senate 40 YON in the House 99 YON unanimously. So that's on the training part. So being that I already have a blanket, the only training that we have is videos that we watch on how to safely do it. And I guess you just have to say we're winging it until this state certified training comes out. And that's what you're going to have to do. I didn't want to wait till December to buy a plane. I don't think it's a question if we're already ever used it, it's winging properly. because they're getting more and more of them out there. So that's the way it's saying with us. And in my opinion, the blanket is the most effective and safest way to do it as of now. Nathan, you jump in there and.
Yeah, and when our firefighters are taking firefighter 1 and 2, they touch on it, not in depth because they really don't know yet, but they touch on that, on how to safely disconnect and where to disconnect. But we've got some stuff where they talk about foam, but it says Tesla does not recommend using foam on electric car. Don't know why. I think at this point, it's a guessing game with all of it. Seen some videos where they've actually, on the side of the interstate, took a backhoe and dug a hole, put the car in it, and filled it full of water. Just because, I mean, if you own a tow company, you're not going to haul one down the road and it still be on fire and you lose a rollback.
Yeah,
Stuff too, so.
we've actually had cases of that.
And Tesla also recommends not to put into a large container of water. So that's to me is if there's a fish pond close by, we can't even do that.
The blanket, maybe.
Red.
At least it may smother it out enough to where we can get it somewhere else to get it, watch it so it don't catch back on fire. When they take it to a tow yard, make sure it's not sitting around anything important, leave it out.
There's instances if they get it on the rollback, it catches up and burns the rollback too. We get the bow rollback in a ED. Well, but we're still in the learning phases, but I do assure you that we're on top of it. If we had, not if we have one, when we have one, we're gonna take care of it.
Yeah. You'll be fine.
I recently visited family in Arizona and I saw several large trucks that were like burning. And I was surprised. They were out there, I mean, they were just shooting water. I don't know if it was treated water or what, just shooting water directly on it. Now, when we came by, when the ambulance is there, they'd all dispersed. And what you're talking about is great, but what I have a concern with, do we need some kind of special mask for, I know the fire department has, you have your breathing apparatus, but for EMS, sheriff's department, that first roll up on the scene where there's someone still in the vehicle and they're trying to get them out, do they need some kind of special mask? Do fumes coming off of this? And do we know anything about that aspect of it?
No, but from what I've seen, these things burn so fast and so hot.
You don't have.
They're
You're
not
not
gonna
out.
be able to, it's not like maybe a regular vehicle out here catches fire under the hood, in the motor compartment. They've got time to get out. From what I've seen, these things, when they go, they're gone. So I don't think any kind of a mask is gonna do them any good. I don't think they're gonna be able to get close enough to it to,
All right, then do we need, again, this is about fumes for this stuff. Do we need to have, or we might have to have a certain containment area or?
well, I figure everybody's gonna stay away from that thing pretty much anyway until we get this blanket rolled out, pulled over, and get it smoothed down.
It's almost impossible to get one over a bus.
Well, that's just it. It's just for
Right.
automobiles.
What's-
If you get one bigger for enough for a bus, you'll have to buy us a hoist to get it over there.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, I didn't see anything. I
Unless
saw,
you want to buy each station a crane.
saw one box, and the other, I think, it was to burn up, I can tell. I almost think it was a semi. Yes, I mean, it was this.
Another scary thing. When y'all go in there, extricate somebody that's in the trap. You're in there trying to extricate them, and that battery goes.
That's another bad thing about these things. It's not only the fire, it's potential explosion.
Well, the other thing I was thinking about too, if you're in a single, but if you're in a multi-car accident, you've got one electric, but the others are standard, you've got people trapped in it. You can get to, then it looks to me like, that's why, again, another aspect, do we need to be looking at some kind of special breathing apparatus for the officer or the EMS? I don't know.
I don't at this point see that, you know, the regular SCBA is gonna be able, the fire department that has them. And the fire department's taking application, probably need to have a little talk with the sheriff's office about the hazards involved, but as far as they carry enough equipment around as it is now, and you know, the fire department, they're trained in hazmat response, and that their gear can take that.
Well, I'm just thinking usually they're first on the scene.
Yeah.
They're, you know, I can see, we have a dedicated force. I can see them already jumping in, trying to get somebody out of the car. And that's why I was thinking, is there anything?
You may could with EMS. I just don't see, I don't see them using up, you know, these ambulances and stuff got a ton of equipment on them already. You know, I think the Ford and them had crash truck that had air packs on it. I never think I ever seen pack come off of. And I wish I could tell you more, and we'll look into it. There are options, and again, this is all new. It's so new, the state don't even have training for it. It's very, I'm not pro or against the electric vehicles. I feel like they will progressively get safer as materials, you know, they develop to the materials to run these batteries. But right now they are very, very dangerous as far as like Tesla's, like poor Danny's got.
If we don't stop, he's going to walk on.
I got a statistic I'll share with you.
Okay. And from the impact, it shuts the battery down, and then the people can't get out of the vehicle. And then the battery catches on fire. I asked him if he had a hammer to get out of the vehicle, but there's such for it. But it is no joking on this. I think Tony and them's come up with a practical approach. There's another one that I found actually this evening, but it's very expensive. You know, it's really not worth talking about, but it actually goes under the car, it punches the battery, and it floods the battery with water underneath the vehicle. That's what makes this so hard, is most of these batteries are under the vehicle, and to get to it, they're going to have to probably develop a way to pick up a vehicle and flood it. But right now, the way vehicles are designed, it's you have no way to get in there to it, especially when all the doors and stuff lock. Now, I did talk to VDM, their hazardous material officer, and he wants to come over and have a little class with them. It's about an hour and a half. And he's already been around to all the other localities, gave it, but it deals with how to de-energize these cars and how to fight fire with them to a minimum. Because people have been getting hurt because there's nothing out there about it. And so the one thing about these batteries is it's not like a typical fire. You could smother something out, complete the oxygen. These things are working off of energy.
Right.
So, yeah, so it's like a domino effect. When one of those cells start, they call it running away. It just keeps going on all the way through the battery, and it don't matter about oxygen or anything else.
Well,
The fire triangle no longer matters.
No.
with what you said, then I think we maybe should look at what we're looking at. And we need to find out where these batteries are located on school buses. Because in that situation, you've got a full school bus of children, then we better be prepared for whatever we have to do, whether it's punching the battery or whatever.
If what he's talking about, if it would be, you'd have to have one for a bigger vehicle, because I think this is more designed for the cars. And if it's on the bus, don't they set up, if they set up higher, it's going to be something taller to actually, get right to it.
Maybe that's something to research and
We can get with Paul and find out more about where these batteries are located on the school buses. Because when these things go, they don't, it's not a small little,
Right.
the smoke starts
Concentration.
pouring and then it's almost like the smoke's flammable. It just goes up. But we can get with, is it Paul? Yeah. We can get with Paul and find out more about the locations and how to address it. If we need something, we'll come back and beg, plead, and borrow.
So, obviously the buses are a main concern, but one of the other things I have a concern about is, electric bicycles that are gonna be in our community. And there's probably more of them than we realize. And they can go up really quick, those batteries, and, you know, the brush fires and if they're a mountain bike or such. So I wanna keep that. There was a factory in New York that exploded, because of the lithium batteries that were being stored there. Now, I know we don't have anybody storing anything, but I think we have to be aware, and I would assume your blanket obviously would be able to take care of a bicycle, but that would be, you know.
That approach that Tony and him was looking at is basically what they use on airplanes when they come across these lithium battery fires. They've had
Right.
multiple, they shove it in the bag and
Right.
go on about their business and land and dispose of it. You know.
No.
So it's go.
No, go ahead.
But
I didn't mean to butt in.
No, go ahead.
What's inside of these batteries? Is there any kind of liquid or anything, or they dry, or what?
It's lithium, cobalt,
No,
magnesium.
Yeah. The main ingredient though is lithium.
Well,
Let me see if I
it's
can
a
get-
formula. All of it's a little bit different. I think it's lithium's probably the volatile part of it, but you got probably more cobalt, magnesium, and different metals. Everybody's got their own concoction.
That's where it got me that, but if it was close to water, got in water, or even with the phone, put all that stuff down the ground, next thing you know, you're gonna have to have a hazmat cleaning. Yeah, because you're going to have to dig up dirt and haul it, get rid of it somewhere.
Yeah, we got to do diesel like it too, so it's.
And then it's gonna be 10 times worse with all the stuff.
Is there anything that we can be doing right now, or pretty much really a wait and see?
While I wait and see, you know, there is a shelf life on these blankets, but it's 10 years, so maybe between now and 10 years, we know more than that. Yeah, and I don't have to use it.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to, I hope you don't have to. I'm not getting 10 years. Place.
Yeah, I need to replace this blanket.
See, to go to the school and get that, that's gonna be really important. And Nathan, I think it would be more, so, for what we understand, it's just gonna be in town.
I'd like to suggest something to the board. If the department, which they're usually on top of it, if several of their line officers, we have people that's trained, goes through the training, there's one through NFPA, also through BDM, but that's only an hour and a half versus 4 hours. But if they receive the training, I would like to see each department have one of these blankets just in case.
That's what my next question was, how much of these blanket rooms?
The single use one, we got around 1,600. The multiple use, and I didn't go with that because we didn't have that much more to spend on it. But I did some research on them. I was telling these guys, Charlotte, North Carolina Fire Department has used theirs 27 times. And it comes with a patch kit, and that kind of worried me for a little, you know. Bicycle tube, you know, you get a patch kit with, but they've only had to do minor patches to it. I would guess they're using it on all their automobile fires. It'd be hard pressed to say they've had 27 Teslas burned up, and they could have, I don't know. So, you know, there's two choices there.
59 and a horse
So we went with the single use one when.
since
when,
2013.
whatever it is that burns up, leaves, that blanket goes with it.
Well,
Do we have grants that will cover the price of blankets?
I don't think so, Jim. I don't think so. It's,
Budget. I guess I go for over two, this thing revolves, maybe buy each one, two blankets. And then as they get their training, then you can go them out to.
as they,
Needs.
as they use on insurance, we'll turn it in on insurance, the car insurance, and get it replaced.
We just have to have a starting something.
You may have to do something to convince the insurance companies that they should replace that, because I've been this route, not on a blanket, but they don't like to replace anything that we
Yeah.
destroy or burn, even a section of hose, they don't even do that, you know. They say they're not liable, but I don't know who would be.
Contaminated soil, they'll probably pay for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
$3,000 per feet again.
I was gonna ask if we could have Kevin look at with Tony and look up and bring us right back or give a blanket for each of the other stations, at least one.
Unusable or just one use?
Right now, let's go one.
Okay.
And because right now, I'd hate for the guys down the check be waiting on you to bring it back.
Yeah.
Almost be no use in firing the truck up and taking it, what I have. And I'm suggesting we go ahead and stay with this tendency, we do something later. Now, I agree with you, when we get into our next budget, then we need to be looking at the multi-use and other equipment, hopefully by the time we're doing the budget next year, we'll have more information about what's going on.
Well, yeah, if they got the, if they have the information, it'll get to us, and I try to stay.
Training costs and all that,
Yeah.
go from there, but I think we should go ahead and at least get one blanket for each station.
I think I could solve that problem for
Good.
hazardous material emergency operations or emergency response or.
As long as you can handle it, it's
Okay.
I don't need to know who.
Well, y'all good with it?
Way after.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
Oh, great, but anyway, as these things get more popular in the county, we may need to talk to Brian and have the dispatchers when they get a 1050 or vehicle accident. They ask if it's an electrical car, if it's a gas.
It would be good to know, yeah.
And then
Yep.
dispatch that out. Where it's gonna be.
It's a good idea.
That wasn't that far out.
No, I think it's right.
It's got to be off.
Especially if it's gonna be one of your buses, it's gonna be probably 2 to 3 stations running on that. So that's good to know, that's a good idea.
Thank you for being on top of it.
Yeah, appreciate you coming.
We tried to stay on
I couldn't know you was ahead of it, but I was thinking.
it. I don't know we're ahead of it, we're running back and back, and as soon as we get some more information.
Done on your radar.
Yeah, it's been on the radar.
I was sitting, coffee listening to news, and they was talking about all these motor fuel, or as they call it. Catching on fires.
Well, I'll leave this, this article is on alternative fuel vehicles. Is your department ready to deal with them? I'll just leave this with you. I've read it from cover to cover, and it's got the resolution in there where we have to take the training. We will take the training, and
You know, back to Linda's point, Kevin sent out a thing the other day, and I was reading, and the first thing on there was a guy in New York City that had bought a used electric bike. But he was taking the battery out and taking it upstairs to his apartment. We caught a fire burning the apartment.
Killed his child.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And he killed his child. Just took a small little battery and took it upstairs to Georgia. Called the fire and he couldn't get to his child. So that, not bashing nobody, but there's a lot of unknowns about lithium batteries and such.
Yeah, that, a few years ago, they came out with, well, a lot of years ago, they came out with, 5 mile per hour bumpers. You remember them? They're supposed to be able to crash. Okay, it was a New York firefighter got killed with one of those. And see, a lot of times it takes a tragedy like that. But the vehicle was on fire. He walked around from it. The gas cylinders heated up and shot the bumper off the firefighter.
I gave him an example in Hampshire, just off Parkwood. Somebody stole the car and the insurance car got hot on fire. One youth, we was standing probably the length of the room, and we just heard something pop. And here comes that front bumper like a lawnmower.
There you go. Yeah.
And so then everybody started standing off the side.
Yeah. I got killed, do not walk. A lot of times, so I hope it doesn't take a really tragic thing on these electric batteries. Same thing with, you wouldn't think so, but airbags. There's a firefighter, the driver's side airbag had went off. The passenger side had, and he opened the passenger door and reached across to give aid to the driver's side, and the delayed action, the passenger side went off, broke his ribs, but it was hard to kill him. Something, and then that's when they said, never, ever get in the vehicle that the bag's on fire, the poison.
Not begrudging or down in the school for getting that electric bus because I put it on the grant. But that was the reason I had to vote against appropriating part of that. Until they get me some good figures and good statistics on these batteries and stuff, I don't want 40-some kids sitting there, especially my 4 granddaughters, sitting on the bus. It's basically a bomb going down the road.
Well, and the other thing that you get the hit on too, with all this going on, they haven't done it yet, but there's gonna be by a certain date, it's gonna be required so much of your government vehicles. So we're gonna have more and more of it.
They're gonna do there, that's for sure.
More study on them before they should. I don't begrudge the green energy. The one that's fine. But I need more information, before we start buying multiple buses and stuff like that.
Another thing, I wanna see how many and how big a batteries it takes to run a garbage truck.
You do know they're making like the fire trucks too.
Well, see, that next thing
I
on the
don't
list.
want one that's parked in station too. We put that out.
Is you need to put the bomb to put a bomb.
Get your electric fire truck, put the house fire truck.
There you go.
Appreciate it,
Thank you.
Very much, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Say, we'll look into an ambulance.
That's about the other one.
Mr. Chairman, we have a request to make a small change or addition. If you would be willing to let us take a short break, so you and Tabitha and I can have a signing party for the documents related to purchasing the bank.
Did you get my box of pins?
Yeah, we got all of these right here.
Yeah, and apologies that we need to do this, but I have to, Tabitha's already had to send them some of these and electronic ones, and then I have to take all of these to Christiansburg tomorrow morning.
We'll take a short break. Seriously.
All right. All right, Mr. Chairman, now you get a couple of staff presentations. So you all had, well, we thought it would be good to have Jacob come and chat with you a little bit about, since there's been a ton of activity up at the rec park and in his program. So thank you. I'll start, but a lot of other things. So I wanted to let him give you an update, see if y'all have any questions. Thank you.
Easy. Appreciate y'all. Here, but just I figured I'd like to do this from permanent basis from now on. The eye to eye, being able to talk with y'all and have some discussion on some of the things we're doing, what we're struggling with, what we're doing well with. So I thought since budget process just finished and we're turning over a new leaf in July, I figured I'd kind of go over some of the what I thought were the highlights from the past fiscal year anyway. I thought it was a year of what I would consider the records for me. I've been here for a little over 5 years now, I guess now. Went back and looked at our numbers. We had a little over 1,200 youth kids that are 12 and under. That's not including adults or kids over 13. Anyway, had a little over 1,200 youth participants and 60 teams across 10 sports. That's blew old numbers out of the water. I think I should have wrote that down. I want to say the last year we were closer to was about 11, maybe a little over 11. So we're making progress year by year. So we're excited about that. Something we're doing this year as well. We offered our first ever, non-athletic youth day camps. We have another one this Thursday with Buffalo Mountain Zip Lines. I think there's been some good reception to that. I think the community enjoys it. The kids are enjoying it as well. We essentially quadrupled the amount of camps and summer-specific sport offerings. Since we got here, we now have a soccer, softball, football, volleyball, MMA, really any sort of sport camp you could want during the summer. We offer it or have connections to people who do offer things like that. I'll talk about this in more detail in a minute, but we, as you all know, we hosted the All-Star Tournament 2 weekends ago, and that went great. We opened that new playground. We've added to our trails. We've painted the bathrooms up the playground, added a brand new children's trail. We're going to do a little more to the trail with some grant money that we've got. And something that was kind of a surprise, the MMA classes that we've had have been going on for 6 or 8 months now. And not that I didn't expect they would do well, but they really surprised me with how many kids we've had come out consistently stay with it. I think we've got a little over 30 kids now that come every Tuesday and Thursday and train at the rec park. Yeah, they're going to have a week-long MMA martial arts camp for those kids, and we have about 10 kids signed up already for that. So I was pretty proud of that. Our program administrator, his name is James, he does a great job at that. He really does the kids a good job. So something we started this year and will kind of continue to grow as time goes on is kind of our involvement with the NRV League's Senior Coalition. Basically, it's the same thing we do with youth sports. We get together, talk about kind of things that are plaguing the senior population, what we can do to improve classes, the whole game of it. We understand that, birth rates are falling, average age of the population is going up. We need to take care of that population. So we're excited to continue working with them. And I think we've really helped our partnerships with local agencies like Healthy Floyd, Partnership for Floyd, Flower Power. Our relationship with the school system has gotten better, I think. So we're making progress on that. I'm excited about where we're going in the future. So I'll pivot to the All-Star Tournament. Like I said, it went very, very well. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we averaged about 300, maybe a little more than 300 people at the park. That's not including players. I didn't have a great way to count them all up, but had a ton of people out there. In 10U, Christiansburg won the championship. Pulaski was a runner-up. And in 12U, Flip-Fap, Pulaski won the championship. Christiansburg was our runner-up. Those tournament T-shirts you have there sold like hotcakes. Logo did a phenomenal job with them. I think they look so great. And and we've sold well over 100 of those. Last year we broke even. This year we made about $2,000, which was a surprise. I mean, we had a ton of people come out, a ton of people bought stuff at the concession stand.
Good.
So that was exciting as well. And something else I gave y'all as well was this financial impact statement. So this is something that I do for, I'd say probably 80 or 90% of the travel tournaments I run during the summer. A lot of larger areas require this after we leave. So I had the infrastructure, if that's the right word. I had my formulas ready to go, and I figured why not use it on an event like this. I can break it up into 3 categories, basically. Out-of-town commuters that stay overnight, out-of-towners that are day visitors, and local people. So this entire report is based on day trippers that do not stay overnight. So just kind of keep that in mind. And you can kind of see how I come to my numbers here, but like I said, altogether, it comes out to about $38,000 with financial impact. And I did want to say as well, these numbers are intentionally low. The average, if you go and look at what the average person spends at a travel tournament, it's usually in the $40 to $50 range. I counted on $20 a day because this is not travel. And, again, just for the sake of not overestimating, but these numbers are conservative. I think the true number may be higher. I think it's likely to be higher, but I didn't want to put false numbers. So we were really proud of that. Just getting on some things. 13 to 15 baseball started. I think I mentioned that last time I was here. We've got 2 teams, mostly middle school and JV players. Kids are doing well. Coaches are getting a lot out of it. So that's something we'll continue as years go on. Friday, Dr. Cromer and Ms. Millsaps and myself, along with other school folks, have a meeting to discuss kind of the availability and usage of the football field, how the process of, what's the right way to go about getting gym space. The methods seem to change, so I'd like to get ahead of that and get on that one before it aggravates anybody.
Turning a new leaf.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you have a new superintendent.
Yeah, turning a new leaf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've got several things we want to discuss. Just personal background on me. Ms. Cromer was I can't remember if it was her first or second year. I think I was her first class. Yeah, at Czech Elementary, and
As
love her to
principal.
death. She's a great woman, so I'm excited. Football camp was really successful as well. Had about 50 kids. Coach Bill and his staff led it again. That went very well. And then let's see. This is something I talked with Linda about. She thought it might be best to just kind of communicate these things early and kind of get it on your radars. But I did some inventory of the equipment and things that we have at the park, things we need to look at replacing or fixing in the years moving forward, and just some things to keep on your plate. The infields, when we renovated them a little over 4 years ago now, they were topped off and leveled with the appropriate amount of infield mix for reasons that would take about 10 minutes to explain. There is a pretty severe erosion issue on the softball field through almost strictly to drainage. So I'm thinking of some options of how to install some drainage cheaply that will alleviate those issues, as well as adding some more of that mix back in. But it won't be a super cheap fix. You're probably looking at $6,000 to $8,000 either way you go. So that's something to keep in mind. The lips need work. The nets on both backstops are close to to the end of their useful life. Along the softball field's pretty cut up. We need to work on picnic tables, the bleachers. As I said last time, we've got to replace several football helmets and game pants. The large soccer goals this year have give up the ghost, I think. They've been welded and re-welded about 5 times, and I don't know how much is left. So we're going to try to will another season out of them, but that may be something we have to look at as well. So just some things I'd like to get in front of you. But last thing I'll leave you with, as I've gotten closer with the advisory board, we began actually getting into the meat of kind of our issues and where we want to go. So I've started thinking about long-term planning and how to use those folks and the best way to use the resources that we have around us and grant funding to get to where we want to be. I think, the packet that I gave you all, I think it was last time, the NRPA packet, that's my Bible. That's where I want to be. So I'm going to fight and scream and kick and fundraise my backside off to get there. And so just know that we're beginning to think long-term and kind of how we can bring the department up to national standards and the standards that our peers have set. So that's my goal. Thank y'all for letting me bring this walk for a minute. I appreciate y'all.
I just want to thank you for, let me turn this off. Yeah. Just thank you for what you're doing, and attention you're giving, not just to the adult leagues, but especially to the children of their community. And a fellow will get me, but one thing I do bring up every time I see you is don't forget pickleball. Yeah. When you can,
Yeah.
if you can. But I promised him I would, he need to bring it up every time I saw you, and so far I have, haven't
Yes, you have.
wherever, so thank you for what you've done so far, and where you're taking the program.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Jerry said, and thank you so much for everything that you've done. The tournament obviously was a huge success. I heard great things about the football camp, even though the weather didn't cooperate quite the way you would have liked to. I think that there have been some hurdles, and you've overcome them, and I just really appreciate your willingness to take other people's suggestions and work them into your ideas, and everything is working really well. And I just wanted to thank you, Jacob, for watching your budget, but making sure that we get the kinds of programs that children, young adults, and adults in the county deserve. So thank you, Jacob.
I appreciate that.
I think they covered it, but thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'll just add, thank you for coming to talk to us, but I'll just add, I'm extremely glad to hear that you guys in the school are. And that has just been such a sore subject for the last several years, and if we can just open up that communication and try to get on board.
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all doing that.
Miss Cromer, I can start calling her Dr. Cromer. Dr. Cromer. And I have gone along very well for a long time. And I think we have similar, we've lived here forever. We both, I think, kind of know what we want. And, I'm excited. I've already talked with her a couple of times. She's excited about where we're going and the things we can do. So I agree with you. I think it's exciting.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if y'all have anything, let me know. But
Thank you.
Jacob.
thank y'all.
Jacob.
Baker. You need to work something tomorrow.
Yes, I do.
You need help?
Old school tonight, so,
Just follow the whiteboard.
If I can get it up, yeah. Yeah, there it is. Okay. I can't read it.
oh, no, that's for later.
Oh, whoops. Okay. Let me see if I can.
You can pick up the mic.
Yeah, I'll adjust that too.
I didn't know Jacob was going to be talking about long range planning, but that's a good time. So, good segue, right? It would
Will we have karaoke too?
You all can. I wanted to update you on a couple of things at this point. The U.S. Economic Development Administration let us know a few weeks ago that we are eligible for some special funds because of a disaster declaration here, that dated back, to 2021. And what's exciting to me about this is normally those funds, the 50-50 match, this is 80-20 match. I'm not asking for anything here, so don't worry about that. Just relax. I'm giving you information. First of all, to let you know, the construction money from US EDA, of course, I'm working on an application for our phase 2 road project at the Commerce Center, trying to fill a gap there. But one thing that I've not seen offered before that I'm looking at closely is they're offering economic development strategic planning grants for up to $150,000. Some of you know that we did our last action plan for economic development in 2018, and we've worked through most of those items. And the world's kind of changed a little bit in the last couple years or so, and so it's something that I would really like to figure out how to do. I think it's possible that we might be able to count the $20,000 that you all are putting towards the comprehensive planning work as match for this, but I don't know that for sure. So that's why I have this here to kind of step through how I think it could possibly work. And we could also have in-kind staff time count towards that for a portion of it. So anyway, I'm awaiting word on whether that match could work out for us to do this, but because we're moving into the comprehensive plan time period, and because we need economic development strategic plan and action plan new, I kind of want to just talk about this a little bit and get y'all's wheels turning on it all, and I'll just keep you posted on the other. So these planning grant, strategic planning grant funds are to help localities become more economically resilient. So things that might mean, the usual things that I talk about a lot of workforce development, but also identifying any vulnerabilities we have or opportunities. Vulnerabilities could be major businesses that are about to close. They could be things from outside that are affecting us or could affect us. How to generate more local government revenues for you all to, to have to meet the community needs. Opportunities to benchmark with other rural localities and to look at some projects and best practices, and really looking at ways. I always feel like our challenge is how do we maintain our rural character but strategically grow our economy so that we have jobs, you all have tax revenue, we have successful businesses, and that's kind of where I try to look and work. And so I think this is a unique opportunity to look at that. So it could give us money for a breadth of a planning process, which I'll talk about in just a moment. The thing I really wanted you all to be thinking about too is it could help us go into a depth with some studies that we've never been able to do before. So for example, we've never been able to afford a labor force analysis, and I've always wanted one of those because, as you all know, we've got more than 70% commuting out, and it would be really helpful to understand what those skill sets and jobs that are going out every day are, so that there might be an opportunity to help us with recruitment or to figure out ways to have more of those folks be able to work in the community. Another is business cluster or sector analysis. I know that word cluster is a word that you can't use here in front of a certain board member, so I'm calling this business sector analysis. Or supply chain assessment, just really looking at the businesses that we've already employed and ways, which ones share commonalities, might have some common suppliers that we could look at. Is that something that we could do in the community? Do a retail leakage study, how much money are we losing, tax money are we losing out because of that, and what business opportunities are here that could help identify. Water resources, this has come up a lot in the Planning Commission conversation, and I'm not naive enough to think, $20,000 for a water study would answer really long-term questions, but it might be enough to kind of pull together some of the pieces that exist and give us better insight into that. And then, if a vacant business site or something like that came on the market, it could give us preliminary engineering money to be able to look more closely at that site. Those are just some examples of some things, but you all may have other things in mind, types of studies that you think could be useful for us looking strategically going forward. So I might just, are there any questions on that? Or anything?
I would like to add, if you are able to do this labor force analysis,
Yes.
I'd also like the study to include commuting in. How many in commuters do we have? And are we just swapping Montgomery residents for Floyd residents and right.
Yeah.
I think that's as equal.
Yeah, that's
as
very
important.
good.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's great.
Jerry's got one too.
The last board, this board, they're all tied in with agriculture. But not forget and leave the agriculture back out of the business. When you say business, everybody thinks of a building, but that's not the case. And a large part of our county is still ways we can help them,
Yes.
that sector too, not just those with brick and mortar, but we ventured down that way before the pandemic. And we really haven't got back to it, but let's not leave with that. The agriculture, the horticulture, the whole package.
Yes.
And other products we would.
That's a really good.
This question, I was thinking wrong with that, water resources. Earlier, we had a study on water resources.
We've done a number of things with water resources. Yeah, we had two task forces that worked on related to water. Held a water summit in 22. We had a number of different. I had a number of different interns, kind of collecting various data. What we haven't had is somebody who really knows about water, trying to look at those pieces and pull them together and tell us. I would be really interested in kind of options for going forward in terms of thinking about water and what things that you all should be thinking about. But yes, you're right. We've been looking at that a long time.
Those studies, older data. Started down the road. I really think we should look back at doing something similar to that to actually get, and it's gonna be expensive. Actually bore testing, such stuff as that now. See how accurate that older data actually is, and does it still apply to today?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there's anything I don't know. I just know that every time we've talked about water, we're using old information. And it may be time for us to conduct our own water study that actually incorporates borings and samples and not rely on certain agencies' information.
I understand.
And I'm
I understand.
You have the very.
Well, it doesn't. The thing that did, rocks and structures under the ground are always moving. So that means that water pockets are changing, then you have the drought, you have the other impacts. I see something.
Yeah.
I know, like I said, I know it's gonna be expensive. Something that actually goes out into each section, count.
Yeah. I think it's.
We already know that things in Indian Valley are different than they are in Lotus Valley.
Yeah.
Just from the natural, so.
In the long term, probably a multi-year study that kind of that looks at some places specifically and watches them over time is probably what's gonna help us most understand something, but that's just my gut feeling.
That's what, when I went through. Just that, and
Yeah.
that's what really got me worried about water flowing, because I didn't know you could make it work.
Yeah.
And our water, not 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Everybody else's water, maybe.
Right. Those are really good. That's right. Those are really good. That's really good.
Rest of it.
But, you know, getting more updated, more your information, someone that's knowledgeable in the area that I'll put it on terms, doesn't really have a dog in the hunt here.
Real quickly, I'll just run through at least one idea of how the comprehensive planning process could mesh with economic development strategic planning. They're both going to start in my mind with very similar basics. The regional commission, I think, is who you all are going to work with. We're going to work with. We'll be looking at data and trends for a series of things. I don't know if I can remember all my shorthand here. Natural resources, population, housing, transportation, economy, use of land, public services, and history and culture. I think is what that is. So look at that, and then we would design a community engagement program to try to get feedback from as many people. And, you know, I've been involved in a couple of plans here, and you learn every time. And of course, now we've got the world has changed so much in terms of human interaction, online interaction. So figuring out ways to get input from a lot of people. Then looking at all that information, kind of seeing what lines up, what comes up over and over from people, or where there might be some consensus, and then identifying a few key topics. You know, one of them could be aging population, just going off of, you know, something that's already come up a couple of times tonight. It could be recreation, it could be housing, it could be economic development, and then establishing some key working groups with some, you know, local experts and volunteers around whatever those areas are. And then that's where those technical studies, I'll call them, kind of deep dives could come in if we had this money to be able to pay for some studies to really get us deeper than we've been able to before, and kind of add that into the mix of thoughts and planning. And then that leads us towards establishing goals and strategies and project ideas. And you know, on the one side, the comp plan will kind of work down through the planning commission, and the economic development will kind of work down through the ADA, but all of it lands with you all making final decisions and working it all out. So that's just, you know, one possibility for how all that might come together if it works out. So
I just have one request.
yes.
When surveys or questions, be clear on what you're asking.
Okay.
Just like a use of land, be clear that you're not talking about, just talking about the land use program.
That's why I didn't put that. I said, use that plan.
Be careful of the red dots. Kevin will remind you that I'll post about the red dots.
Well, this is something for you all in the planning commission to think about, you know, how much of it you want to be an in-person engagement these days. I think there's probably a range of options for people. Not everybody's going to come out to something like that. Right. Right. Yeah. We've done that a couple of times. Right. Yeah.
And he took all five of his dots and put on one subject. Yeah, I mean, just my request, be clear in question. Understanding that when compiling the data, no interpretation. It tells you.
Yeah.
These are the number of people participating, and this is what they think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good advice. It's complicated in practice to make sure that it's absolutely clear. Yes, but as we get close to that, that's good to continue thinking about how we can have maybe multiple people review it to make sure that, we're not thinking something wrong.
It needs to reflect.
Yes. Okay, any other questions from you? Anything?
You and, got really the same short and. You look at that board and talk all day, and I don't know. You took the words out.
Yep.
It's not really just for me, just look at the boxes and.
I just want to commend you on the idea of getting that planning grant and trying to not just mirror, but sort of weave them together, because I think it's a really important strategy. I really do. Because I think as we look towards our comprehensive plan and look farther out, our economic development strategies are going to have to try to mirror. And
Yeah.
I think with that grant coming down the pike and all of this coming together, I think this is a very forward-thinking way of trying to utilize funding to get us information that we really need.
We're gonna be the first. We're already the first to have,
Broadband.
broadband and fiber. We're not gonna be the last with 5 years. So trying to figure out how we can take advantage of that before all these other communities get fully on board. And a lot of people are doing that. I mean, it's been doing, home businesses and stuff are using it,
Absolutely.
but also how we can get manufacturing and others before we lose our opportunity.
Our edge.
Yeah,
right?
or our edge.
Yeah, I mean, with the announcement from Senator Warner and the new law that's been passed, which is needed, obviously, but there may need to be something added to one of those that does incorporate the use of technology. And not just technology, but broadband, fiber.
You go to Waco, I've talked to people in Culpeper, Fairfax. What? They're just floored that Little Floyd County has, that we're on schedule, if it stays on schedule, by the end of next year, to have every state road in our county.
Every private road.
And every road.
Well, I'm still holding my breath.
No, I mean,
It's funded.
I hope
it's
so.
funded.
But
And they've already started.
The work's got,
the work's gotta be completed. But they can't believe how far ahead we are on it. And so think of ways to take advantage of that.
Maximize.
I think that would be great too.
yeah. I've already spent a fair amount of time working out what this application would look like and exactly what you're talking about. I think, we're an interesting community because traditionally we've been a community of makers, and we still are. Like, we still make things with our hands, which is
Right.
fantastic, but we've got the infrastructure that lends itself to the technology side. So I think it's great that the schools are kind of adding that into their programming. But what really sets us apart is the ability to do both.
Yeah.
Because so many communities can do one or the other, but we can do both.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, good. Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in a little bit.
It's on the file.
That would be good.
Yeah, to our public comment period. It is the intent that all persons attending the meeting of the board, regardless of handicap and conditions, shall have an opportunity to participate. If any person present requires any special assistance, please let the board know in order that arrangements can be made. With that, I'll open the public comment period. When you come up, state your name, district is grown and limit the comments to 4 minutes.
I think I'm first.
That's right. That's right. So, Mr. Chairman, Peggy is our first speaker today. So, Dr. Peggy.
Good evening. I brought you some information about New River Community College. These are the minutes from March 6th. Our December minutes basically is our Christmas party. So I didn't think you would want to have that. But we have also the Personnel Committee report on Dr. Huber, and she is doing a wonderful job.
Yes.
Really, absolutely. And also, at our June meeting, we talked about the heavy equipment operator course. And in December, I had the opportunity to watch the 2 simulators that we have on heavy equipment. I was asked if I wanted to sit in the chair, and when I saw it going down and the logs rolling down, even though they were on the screen, I figured I would freak out, and I was like, I do try a lot of different things, but this is not going to be that. I'll pass. And also, we talked about law enforcement and the drones. And there's a lot of in-service going on now with law enforcement use of drones. The governor's school is officially at the campus now. So you have the minutes, which I think will tell you everything you need to know about what we decided and what happened in March. And I'll continue to do reporting this way. I think this is the most efficient for all of you. If you have any questions, if you don't want to bring them up now, after you look at it, I put my phone number up at the top. And just feel free to give me a call.
Oh, yeah, we can't respond. You know.
No.
If you
I would
have
say,
any questions, I got
call.
back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the other person that has signed up is Mr. Josh Blankenship. Brooks Fork.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Appreciate you allowing me the time to speak. Josh Blankenship, Burks Fork District, pastor out at Faith Baptist in Czech. And I'm here tonight because I'm just concerned about something that happened here in our county this past Saturday. Here tonight in strong opposition to the emphasis on this word, adult entertainment, that was offered by the Junebug Center this past Saturday. Myself, a little bit over 50 other people, churches, pastors, we just gathered for prayer, a little singing, a little testimony, just to, we don't hate anybody. And my job as a pastor is I believe the truth, and I believe that anybody is worth it. So let me just put that out there tonight. Don't hate nobody. But I'm in strong opposition to what seemed to be family friendly. It's called family friendly. Was not this past week. I did not go in, nor did I have the desire to go in. But the pictures that I have seen that have been shared, they're public on Facebook by some pride groups from Blacksburg. Children were in there. Money was offered for it just looked like a strip club scene, and I'm not trying to be vulgar. I'm just trying to tell you what happened. And the proof is in the pudding out there on social media. I have it screenshot on my phone as well. And the pictures that I seen are nothing but disgusting, vulgar, and perverse, in my opinion. And I would ask just a couple of things, and I'm going to go on so somebody else can speak. Me as a citizen, taxpayer, that none of my taxes, and I have no idea. I need to do a better job. Y'all talk about a lot of things, tax money. I have no idea what goes where. But I am for sure and certain that I do not want my tax money, anything that I give to the county, going anywhere to support anything like that when it's involving children in it. I don't think children were forced to be in there. I don't know. I think parents could take them in there, and that's another discussion that I don't agree with either. But I would also ask this, because I believe some people might have wanted it to be here, maybe, but it is a very, very slim minority. I believe if there was a petition or an ordinance put together, and again, I don't know how to do that. I'm not a lawyer, but I would be an advocate to get signatures. I believe the majority of our county does not want that here at all. A drag show does not want men dressed up as women parading around and dancing in Floyd County. I'll leave you this verse, Proverbs 16:18, that says that pride goeth before destruction, a haughty spirit before the fall. And I've been proud to be from Floyd County, but there was nothing I'm proud about, or to be proud about, of what happened this past Saturday. And this is a place, and I don't know anybody up there at the gym. I've never been there. So again, I'm not taking shots at anybody, but a place that says they're for children, a place that children go to, and then you see the pictures, and you can look it up, of children holding money with men provocatively perverse dancing in front of them, is something that should not be allowed, period, but definitely in my hometown, in my county. So I'd ask that you would look into that. If I can be a part of the help for that process, you can reach out to me. And not trying to be hateful. People will say that I'm hateful, say that we don't like anybody because of a lifestyle. If I don't speak the truth, what I believe to be the truth, I'll have to answer for that day, for that one day. And so that's why I'm here tonight, and I appreciate you letting me speak. I'll be praying for our county. I always do, but this is not a road that we want to go down at all. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, those are the only two folks that signed up to speak.
With that, I will vote or go in and part of it. For a public comment.
No, we did not have anyone that wrote in requested to
No,
be
sir.
here. Yes, thank you for asking.
With that, I will close public comment. Move on to board.
I'd like to really say thank you to Peggy for coming and presenting to us. And this is actually exactly what I'm looking for. I have on my agenda written from before we even started tonight that I'd really like for our appointees, that board, appoints community members to various positions to represent Floyd County. I would really appreciate if our appointees came maybe on a quarterly basis to talk with us and answer questions and have a better idea as to what we would like them to represent for Floyd County, not just we appoint them and never hear from them again until it's time to reappoint them. But
I'd like for her to call and get on the agenda.
right, not just
Can't say it.
I know. But not just Peggy. I would like all,
Yeah.
for the appointee we put for social services, for the library. Right.
Nothing, if they just do the private citizen call.
Right, yeah.
Instead of comments. We want them,
Right.
they should call again.
I think we should have that as a strong ask/requirement for our appointees to come. Report back to us. We don't know what they're representing, so
Yeah.
that would be my board's request. Yeah.
We do.
You just send them a note and just say, whenever you come to speak,
Quarterly.
let us know. Yeah. Let us know so we can get them in there. Because they require more performance. I've talked to Peggy before. They got a lot more she can say.
Yeah.
You had to put it in a nutshell.
And if they're on the agenda, then we can converse.
Correct.
Right, yeah. There was some questions I asked her. Anyone else?
So, then a request other committee members to come forward. Okay.
Well, if we might, Mr. Chairman, we'll look through the list a little bit because you have quite a few folks that you appoint, and so maybe try to sort through a little bit and see what y'all's priorities may be. Right.
Was those, the library, those were actually going outside of the community.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Right.
talking, that's what I'm not putting words in your mouth.
So, yeah, all of them would be too much, but there are some, or maybe you could send us the list and we can, make our check marks. This is who we think would be
I could
important.
do that. I could send you a list.
Yeah,
Okay, that'd be great.
right.
We can definitely do that.
Sorry for the more.
Thanks a lot.
It's a good trade for the minutes by far.
Yes.
You're still way ahead.
Problem, look.
Yeah, way ahead still.
Between this and. What is dumpster fire?
Just board, I did see the very four dumpsters. Were,
Would you?
that were up. Somebody sent me a video. There, I mean, it was shut.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it pulled the lever down and it slid that door open, and it got the trash out.
These bears have nothing on Yosemite. They have car preferences, so they have a lot to learn. No, yeah, no, yeah. They're not as smart as I am.
He did what he wanted. Did he close the door behind him? He did do
Well, you back video that you were telling David to go out and the constituent.
Anyway, that's the only thing I was.
Piggybacking off of that, last night there were, there were two dumpster fires, and I thought that was rather odd. Very close together, but in different parts of the county. One end to the other.
Sort of bothered.
Yeah, it sure did. Me too.
And
Yeah,
it's over.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
That is your, very good. Yeah.
Everybody's got anything else? I'll take a motion going 2.2371183.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. On the motion to go into closed session under 2.23711A3, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or the disposition of a publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body and specifically the Commerce Center. Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. Turner?
Yes.
All right, we'll go move to closed session. He's scared.
Not ready.
So moved. Deja vu.
On the motion to come out of closed session, Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. Turner?
Yeah.
All right, we are out of closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Get her
Right, all right. On the motion to certify that we only talked about the things we were supposed to talk about in closed session, Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. Turner?
Yes.
All right, we are out and certified. Thank you.
And Margaret. Susan Ico here. Is it on? It's on. I appreciate Susan being with us tonight. If you don't know, she's been the volunteer energy behind the housing rehab project going back to 2017. So we thought we would just start out with a little bit of history or slide 12, I think. One more. Nope.
Nope.
Go ahead, keep going.
Keep going.
Please.
Oh, let me go. There it goes. It's going backwards. There you go.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
So Susan's going to give you a little background on the rehab overall, and then just a few slides, and get up to the current CDBG rehab.
So in 2017, a group of volunteers gathered together with county agencies, all sorts of churches, donors, and we decided to start an organization to work on the housing needs of the Floyd. We focused on three things to begin with. One was doing repair work on homes for those who couldn't afford to do so. Then we also divided into a core group that worked on bringing new housing to the county. And then the other group was trying to educate the county on some of the issues that we have with housing here. So we initially started doing 10 to 15 homes a year where we could send volunteers in to fix situations that were not safe or warm or dry. And Habitat partnered with us, and we worked through and we still do work through their insurance and liability, and they've given us great direction. And through this time, we developed a relationship with Habitat. They decided to do in bringing new homes here, townhouse project that many of you are aware of. And we have kept going with our repair work. At some point, somewhere, I was speaking at some event over in Blacksburg, and someone from the state heard me talk about fish and asked us a week or two later, whatever, to apply, why don't we consider being applicants for a grant from the state to work on rehab homes. So we had a planning grant session. And in 2019, we were awarded $1.1 million to work on rehab of 15 homes because of the pandemic. Obviously, things got shifted. Our initial project was to do 8 total replacements, 7 or 8, and then 6 total rehabs where we tear down the home and put up a new home. Then we are doing rehab work and repair work for the other homes. We're in the middle of that right now. And we are hopefully well on our way. There is some motion that we perhaps apply for this grant again, and that we are all the wiser for it at this time. Let's move on. Let's see, slide wise. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead on you.
That's
Do you
okay.
wanna-
She's just now covered everything.
I'm sorry, you go.
We're done. So, back in the planning grant process, some of you are going to recognize this map. It's when we looked at the assessment data, trying to figure out where the most needy houses were in the community, and we kind of learned there are over 800 houses in fair or poor condition, and they're the on the parcels in green, so you can kind of see they're all around the county. They're not just one area. So anyone remember? I'm thinking that there was on average there was at least 100 in every
Yes, there
district.
was.
I think. So this kind of became the basis of saying, gosh, it's all over the county. There's not one area. It's everywhere. And it's, as I think Chairman Turman mentioned back then, you can't always look at the outside of a house and know what it's like on the inside.
Yeah.
And we've definitely found that to be true.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Danny. Also, in that planning grant process, we found willing partners to come together with us, because even though $1 million sounds like a lot to do 15 houses, it is not, especially if we had known, what was coming. That was in the spring of 2020. So, we were very fortunate to have these partners step to the table to work with us. Next slide. When we applied for that $1 million, $1,080,000, we submitted an application saying that we would have $207,900 in matching funds. Roughly, I think about 4,000 or 5,000 of that was the county waiving building permits. You all didn't have cash in that. That was your contribution. Yep. And I think you've waived trash maybe from a couple of houses that were taken down completely. But anyway, all the rest of that, so over 200,000, a little bit, we were anticipating from partners. So remember that number, 200,000 for 15 houses when we get to the later slide. Next, please. So here we are. This is a little bit hard for you to see because I foolishly made some of the dots green, but 8 houses are either underway in some way. So these 2 are already complete. Those were complete replacements. These 3 are under construction.
And are complete replacements.
One of them, this one is a complete replacement. In fact, I have a picture I can share with you. This is on Dusty Miles right here. And then 3 of them are in the process of bid documents being prepped for them to go out to bid. And we are determined to have these 3 done before the end of the year. In fact, by December. November 3rd. I know, it's getting here so quick.
We have to get them done.
Next slide. So we just want to show you just a few quick pictures from the project. This is the one on Dusty Mile. To the left is the house that will be taken down. This one worked out so nice though, because there was enough room on her lot for us to do her new house while she was still living in her current house, and that way we didn't have to. It's really hard to find somewhere to put somebody temporarily right now. So this has worked out.
That is incredible. That is absolute.
The nice thing, so many of these folks are senior or elders on walkers, or have challenges with getting around, and so you'll see most of them have ramp access that they're getting.
Which, let me just add, is given to us from Renovation Alliance in Roanoke. They are coming in and supplying all the materials for that and building them as well. That's one of the beautiful things about these partnerships. We've had so many other agencies. The agency Community Housing Partners that does insulation and weatherization. They've come in and helped many of our homes.
Yes.
And
yes.
it has been matching, made our dollars stretch so much further.
I just have to tell you a story we just learned this week really quickly. So we were really worried about getting people to bid on these houses because we have so little money. We only have $95,000 from the grant to build an entirely new home, which is, even though these are very small. So I didn't think we were going to get anybody to do that. We not only have had, Habitat did the first two, so that's how it happened. But a gentleman.
At cost.
Cost, right. Yeah, labor with much of the volunteers. Anyway, the gentleman that has a construction company from Craig County is building this house for $95,000. And he said the lady is so nice. We didn't have the money to put a microwave and a dishwasher in there. He bought her a microwave and dishwasher to go in that house.
Wow.
I mean, it's just been amazing. People are really stepping up to help. It's makes sense. On the left, again, the old house, and then in the middle, the new house. And again, you can kind of see the ramp. You can see the ramp there. This was a mother-daughter situation. And on the old one, you can just barely see an old mobile home that was in really bad shape to the back right of that house. And then the center picture, you can see the new home back there too. So next slide, please. And then, in addition to complete rebuilds, most of these homes are just where we're repairing parts of the house. It's only if it's really really bad that we have to replace it. So this is an example of kind of a brand new roof that someone got, a new well. I guess it is. I should have put a note on that. A new well at the bottom, maybe septic.
I think that was the septic one.
Yeah. Allen Ridge, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, just examples of some of the kind of things.
And for our two newer members, you understand the concept of the scattered site, that it was the only
In the state.
only one in the state.
We were the first or second one in the state.
There are two now.
There is another, but they typically work and do only grants in neighborhoods.
We used that map of Floyd County showing all the scatter site to make the case that not every place is a town or a city, that it's a neighborhood, that all the houses are bad. In a rural place like this, it's spread around. And so they started a scatter site program. And next year, it's not going to be in the main competitive round like it was that year. It's going to be open submission. So hopefully that means fewer competitors getting it in early is key. So
Yeah, especially when you're going up against towns that are looking for the same money. Correct.
for scatter site.
For scattered sites. It's really bringing Richmond's reality to our rural communities.
Next.
One small step at a time.
So just a few photos. Most of these are made around the table where we're signing. It's much like it is a house closing because they're signing. They're obligated that if they were to leave the home and not live there, they would have to pay the money back. So they're signing a very serious document, but it's also a very heartwarming time for them the thought of having a safe house. Okay, next slide. Just really quickly, what I wanted to share from this slide was, again, as Susan alluded to, all the different partners that we've had at the table helping out. These are the rehabs, the ones where we're just doing work in the house, but not completely replacing it. So far, we've only spent $62,000 on the two homes that we've done there, and partners have spent $108,000. The downside of that has been that we're at the mercy of other people in the timeline. And so that has actually thrown us late in the project because we're letting them do all the work that they can do first, and then we only come in and do what remains that has to be done. So that's been one of the hard parts, just deciding how long to wait on somebody without just having to hurry up. Exactly. And one thing that I'm really excited about is Community Housing Partners does Floyd County's weatherization money, and I've always been a little worried that maybe we weren't getting as much of our share of it as maybe we should. But because of this money, the $1 million that we have, they're prioritizing Floyd County houses because they get their money from the same original source of funds, so they need to be a good partner. So it kind of helps make sure that we're getting our fair share from that direction. And then on the complete rebuilds, which is the bottom part of that screen, you can see that we're about 274 for versus 106 being donated. But for 3 new houses, 274,000, just amazing. Okay, next slide. And we have through this process, as people see it happening for neighbors and people hearing about it, we now have a waiting list of folks that are interested in the program. We haven't income qualified them or anything. We don't know who's really eligible, but we do have a waiting.
It's through the volunteer outreach that Fish does, going to the homes that we try to service, that we see who would be good candidates for these homes. So we're already down that road out in the field looking. And so that has been a beautiful thing where we were able to feed these into this program. Because we're seeing many homes we can't help. They're far beyond what we can help. So.
Has there been any changes for qualifying factors? Do you see any of that changing in the future, making allowances for inflation?
Yes, I'm really glad you asked that question. We have bet. If someone were doing a project starting in 2021, is it 125,000?
Yes.
Yeah, you get 125,000. But even though our project is still going, we're locked in because we were spring of the 2020. Right. But if we applied again, it would be based on at that time.
People qualify.
Oh yes.
Their net worth or their stuff. I know one lady that needed badly, she just.
Because she made that much too much money.
She made
And it was so sad.
That's
we yes.
It's an inflationary type thing. It does go up each year. That's a number published that we go by. So
I think she had gotten a raise at her job if we're talking about singing.
No,
Yeah, but
I know.
I think that's what had said. It was so disappointing. So bad.
okay, so that was all an update, and then we have a question for you all. Beginning July 1st, the planning grant round opens, $50,000 planning grant. What that planning grant does is helps us begin to go in and assess these other houses to see what the need level is, to start looking at income eligibility. We don't go into the full level of verifying income at this stage, but we at least start to inquire so that we know who appears likely eligible and not. And it helps us get that assistance from the housing rehab specialists that have to be the ones that go in and make those determinations about the housing needs. And then, kind of all the support from the regional commission to really what this planning grant does is set you up to be ready to apply for the construction money in the follow-up year. So
I want to add just one little thing, and that is just to boast about Fish a moment, and that is we send our volunteers out to help these homeowners fill out the paperwork because it's very daunting to them. They have to come up with so many records, so many deeds, and this, it's over anyone's head often. So we are able to help get these folks in as good a situation as we can.
I just want to add too, for the rest of the board, the state has been, each and every time, the state has a representative that meets with us via Zoom and sometimes on the phone, whatever. And they have been extremely helpful. They've been, this has been obviously a win for this county, but I have to give the state and the people that they've put on this particular program and discussing with us, because we did fall short. I mean, it had a lot to do with, you know, the pandemic. It had a lot to do with a whole bunch of other things, but shortages, supply chain issues, on and on and on. But they've been very understanding, and they are trying to work. And I mean, we were really trailblazers. Nobody had ever done this before. So I do want to say that even though it may not seem, I mean, I think it's an extreme success, even if it is only 8. It's just important that the state has not just thrown us out there and not been supportive.
And we, and if we get this 8 done by November 3rd, we do still have the rest of the money from this grant that we would be spending next year. So and that would be another 7 houses. What we're trying to prepare for is planning grant in this fall to do the work to apply next summer, so that maybe we hear from that money by the time we've expended all that, and we can just keep the project rolling.
Keep rolling. With
right.
the partners.
Because we're just kind of, exactly, we're starting to gel a little bit in the process, so.
New contractors are like, it's building this kind of
capacity.
Yeah, it's building that capacity, and then people are hearing about it, and there are people who genuinely want to help their fellow neighbors, as we should. And we as a county are doing it, and then, even this man from Craig County is coming all the way over here. That's amazing that he's buying the microwave and the dishwasher.
Any questions for us?
What do you need?
Looking for
Action.
Authorization to pursue the planning grant in the new fiscal year. Can't tell you the exact time frame on that. It's a little bit of a conundrum because we want to go in quick because the money's available starting July 1st, but we also need to demonstrate that we're making progress on these last 3 houses. So, I don't know exactly when we would get it in, but I imagine in the next 6 weeks.
First thing, don't say if.
When, right. Exactly.
If is good for us, for them.
When, right. Exactly.
I'll make a motion, we authorize whatever you need to continue this going. Because I think it's one of the greatest things we ever got into.
High five.
Well, like a lot of people, we go way back, we won't say how far or how long. Yes.
I'm on the voting case.
I'll second that.
It's a win-win. Thank you so much for your support.
Okay. On the motion to move forward with the planning grant as outlined by the previous speakers related to housing in Floyd County, Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold?
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. Turner?
Yes.
All right, so there you go.
Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for sticking around, Susie.
We're seeing two people who put a lot of work into this.
Yes.
And I just want to say thank you.
Many, many, many.
Especially the volunteer.
Yeah.
Thank you also.
You'll get a picture next year.
Yeah. Thank you, Susie. Claudine is Jerry. Just one more thing.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Now you can't use it. She took it.
Good job.
Linda.
For sure. This hopefully is a familiar process by now. I think this is third or fourth one that I'm filling. This is the Virginia Telecom grant money for the fiber. This is the one doing the private road. And you all, I think, have this in your packet.
Yep.
I didn't bring you paper copies, but let me know if anybody needs a copy. So this outlines memorandum of understanding between the county and citizens Basically, it says that Citizens is responsible for doing all the fiber and all the installation, all the construction work and reporting everything out. And that the county will serve as conduit for the money because only the county is eligible for the money. And there is a blank on the third page right above the signatures because we need to put in the DHCD agreement date. But the problem is they require a copy of this signed from us before they will send us a contract. So if you could just authorize a signature and that can be filled in by the attorney or one of us once we have a recordation number or a number off of that contract.
Is anything changed in this from when we talked about it before? Or in the contract that's coming?
The only thing that is different is, of course, you all don't have any match in this one, so that 100,000 came out because that was ARPA funds. The numbers have changed in terms of the miles of fiber, the number of, places served, the dates. That's all exactly the same. All that I did was change the numbers.
And the date.
Exactly.
And I think they're gonna be way ahead of that. I really do. I really do. I think they are pushing along really quickly. Pretty impressed.
Well, you need to think
If you just want to approve it and authorize signatures, it'd be fine. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to authorize the MOU agreement between Citizens Telephone Cooperative and Floyd County regarding the BATI funding, universal coverage for Floyd County's broadband and fiber bills, and authorize the county administrator to sign all needed paper.
I'll second. If you really. Trying to keep it going.
That's right.
Keep it going.
Oh, on discussion? Okay, okay. So on the motion to approve the agreement between Citizens Telephone Cooperative and Floyd County regarding BATI funding, universal coverage of Floyd County, as presented at the meeting this evening, and authorize approval and signature by the county administrator. Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Right. Approved, and sign it right now.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything tonight, Medina. I know it's a long day for you. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah, good night.
Night, Ladina.
Good night. Just me?
Levi, no.
No, Levi's, that's right.
Smile board.
Yep.
11B. Or 13B.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I was gonna ask to make a motion to rescind the most recent appropriations designated for the June Bug Center. I'd be asking for the full amount that we appropriated to them to be rescinded.
I'd like to, can I add something for a second? I was hesitant to put money into the June Bug Center this year, and the presentation that the gal gave us was really nice. That the June Bug Center is they're a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to providing music, performing arts, and STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics through ongoing after-school programs. And I'm okay with that. I really know that arts and performing arts are really important. It helps a lot of students. It helps a lot of children have something to do with their time. but I really feel that the Junebug colored out of their lines when they participated at the Juneteenth celebration, helping the Community Action for Racial Equity that left their 501c3 mission statement, which is what we were providing the money for. So when you color in your lane, I'm good. When you start doing things outside of what you said you're going to do with our taxpayer money, doesn't sit well with me and the people who knock on my door. So I'll second your motion.
Can I ask you a question? If we were seeing that money, can we move it to another line item, or does that go back into the general fund? My suggestion was that if we did that, after us coming in, we could use it for the fire blanket, or we could use it for planning, something like that.
The only implication that I think I would need to explore, as you recall, that funding was matched to a grant. And so, of course, if you rescind that completely and put it in something other than an arts organization, then you would be losing that portion of the grant. I don't know, and would have to research if you moved it to a different one, if that was allowed, because you remember we took that action early on, so I could submit the grant that said we were giving it half to one and half to the other.
From the Virginia Commission
For the arts.
for the Arts, the VCA, is where the grant comes from.
Originally, took money from 5,000 to the arts. It's
4,500.
Use me, yes, yes.
Well, $5,000 is what they were getting. And they.
4,500.
Anyway, whatever they were getting, they were using to get a matching grant. Now,
Well, technically, you're close, because technically,
it came
we get
through
the matching
it
grant.
came
Yes, correct. We're the applicant, but we apply to send it to them after we match it.
Move that 25 from that, put it back with the Floyd Centers, and they could use it back in. And the total number would change. But if you take it plumb out and you put it back for another subject, then that reduces the grant application, the total of that.
I am very certain, to your point, Mr. Booth, that if you take it out and spend it on something that is not an arts program, that you'll lose that outside funding.
Right.
I would need to double check with the commission staff. Can we move funds that we said we were going to give this much to Junebug and this much to the Center for the Arts? If we move that around, if we do what your question might suggest, move it all to the Arts Center as an existing recipient, but increasing it, or if there was for example, a third one that was still arts. So I would need to clarify with them what the impact of that would be. But certainly, to your first point, if you moved it to something other than an arts program, it would that match would definitely be gone.
My expectation.
Jukebox Center didn't do it, they didn't sponsor it, they didn't pay for it, they rented it out. Are we prepared, there's a slippery slope here, are we prepared to do that with every organization that we donate to or we provide money to? If they allow someone to come in with something that don't agree with, I'm talking about in principle, I know you have different subjects, but in principle, are we starting down that slide?
For me, it was this doing the, I was actually aware of this, Community Action for Racial Equity thing at the Juneteenth, shortly, like that evening at the Lineberry Park. And that's what made me very concerned about them not sticking to their mission of the arts. That if this, that the thing that happened Saturday night, I don't like it. It's their choice to do what they're building, what they want. That in some forms of judgment, it's performing arts. I don't like it. I don't go. But when for me, it was, so I'm not about removing the money for what happened Saturday. I don't like the coloring outside the lines with getting into the racial equity. That's not arts. So that's what actually put this on my radar for tonight, not Saturday.
And I'll just,
And I understand, but again,
It's the timing is very poor.
but again, that even that goes back. If we're giving funding to an organization that, for whatever reason, gets out of whatever they claim their mission, then we should stop funding.
That's where our due diligence comes with monitoring where our tax money is being spent for.
So and
I understand.
I do say, if you're telling me, you have the money, and I'm asking for the money, and I say, I'm gonna teach your child these things. And then I'm suddenly not teaching your child these things. I am not even teaching children. I am training dogs. You've left your lane of what the money was committed to.
While they participated in whatever they did in this other still took place. So how do you distinguish what dollar went where?
Well, if they didn't have our dollars for teaching, maybe they wouldn't have had the dollars to do the dog training.
But they haven't got any money.
What we're doing before they have something that.
Right. So, at what point do you say, we agreed to fund these, we agreed to fund you because this is what you said you do, and now you're doing these other things, which are not arts. And again, it's not what happened Saturday night.
well, in terms for me, I'm not gonna further discuss my reasoning, but I'll just let my motion stand.
Well, no, I'm not asking you.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's,
And I'm not.
let it speak for its, I'll let it speak for itself.
I'm just raising the issue. I feel that when we start down this road.
Yep.
Where does it stop?
I would just like for the people that we're giving money to do only what they say they're going to do. Because that changes their mission statement. It changes what they're committing to do.
This is the first time we've given to the Greenberg Center, right?
Well, we haven't given them yet.
So we haven't.
Well, I mean, this is the first time we
intended.
intended.
It was the first time budgeted, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
in an actual line item, yes.
This came out of the Virginia Arts Fund. And I think that, you have the motion, but I don't know that it can be acted upon until we have more information. I really don't.
I think if nothing else, that the outside agencies that we are the funnel for money for, or give our counties money to. I think it's it should be a wake-up call that if you're starting to do things that are not on your mission statement, not things you've asked that you your sales pitch for, that this is what we do, that you're misrepresenting, not in fully representing what your intentions are as a entity, that if we discover that you are not coloring only in your minds, that your funding won't be there from us. And again, it's not the Saturday issue, it's this,
Still a slippery slope.
yes. But people need to do what represent themselves honestly.
Well, I think that we make budgets forward. We think they're getting out of lines and stuff.
Right.
So, why do you? Is this appropriate? When's appropriate?
When we approved them at our first meeting in July.
That's right. And what I was thinking,
So we could table this.
I was getting ready to say, you find out if we can give the money back to them or wherever. And vote on it.
But it's not about censoring or stopping people from doing.
Unless, just, it's unless they receive,
I
Oh, go back.
Getting to that.
yeah, if they don't draw back.
I'll draw my second to table this to our next meeting.
Just, since I don't have a second, just for the record,
You don't have to have a second.
I feel compelled not to withdraw the motion.
Hold on.
I thought it died with that.
But it died without a second.
So the attorneys were a long time ago, that you could force a vote without a second.
We've never done that before.
It's been done, it's been done prior to you coming.
Doesn't mean
Wrong back
right.
in.
I've never done it. I just know that a previous attorney advised a board that they could force a vote without a second. Now, I don't know if he was right or wrong, I just know that. And I'm not trying to take over his position. And
Good. We're gonna do it right.
Yeah.
I think there just needs to be have the elements.
We could go with the vote and then we can go to Dr. Millsap to find out.
And see your point too.
He's going down a roller coaster going, no.
Second motion.
But you like this stuff.
Mhm.
You do.
I do like this. You notice I knew exactly where my book was. Yes.
He keeps me from stepping away from my.
Sure.
Yeah, that's when Steve
Says-
says small meetings in the 12th chairman motion.
I think I see both arguments here. If I'm reading this correct, so the first item says seconding a motion. When one member has made a main motion, it must be seconded in order to be considered by the group. This shows that at least two members want the proposal considered. It does not necessarily mean the seconder agrees with that motion, with the motion. If there is no second, the motion is not put before the group for discussion or decision. To second a motion, you call out second. However, I think maybe what Mr. Booth is remembering is there's a, not a requirement for a committee report to get a second. I think.
We're not, what the date in this one says, a motion must be seconded to bring it up for discussion. Seconding a motion does not mean you agree with it. The chair must hear a second or the motion is lost.
Yeah, but I think,
What about if we bring it back in day? You'll do that?
if you bring it up,
Represent it in day?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, you can represent on the next meeting date. I just want to make sure I'm answering that question.
If motion's made and seconded, and say it's defeated, then the person making the motion and second can't bring it up to me.
Correct.
It has to be one of those.
Right.
But since there's no vote, he's free to bring it up again after you declare it. Okay.
Well, and Mr. Cox, just to clarify, so the reason for the committee report not needing a second is assumes a committee has at least two members. So therefore, no second is required because there's an assumption that another member is represented in the committee. So just wanted to clarify what the distinction is in your.
20-some year.
And I will certainly reach out tomorrow to the Arts Commission folks and find, and I'll be happy to email you all what I find so you all can discuss as appropriate amongst yourselves before the meeting to help facilitate the conversation. So I'll call to me. Right.
That moves down to the county administrator's report.
Yeah. So, and as always, I have a couple of small additions since we did this, but
Can I ask?
appropriate. Anyone want to appropriate?
So that you expenditure reports like you've been making. The last year we did it all in one block.
Yes, we did.
And, but in previous years, some boards wanted to do it quarterly.
The reason we did that, certain, and we broke it down quarterly.
And then it was also because of COVID, we didn't know how the funding was coming in, so that was the last.
We'll do for the long appropriation. To me, the more important thing is that we begin to keep hold that.
Yeah, absolutely. Very helpful.
What if we do,
Still.
The reports. No.
I think we make it hard on Kim, it's hard enough.
When we get the new system, I think you can, but under the current system,
I can ask that question though for the new side. I did ask that. Yeah. Yes.
And what if we,
you want
correct.
Thank you, Joe.
Well, and my suggestion might be is if when it is appropriate, maybe we do it twice a year, because then, you know, at that point, people have had 6 months of experience and we can kind of see what's happening. And that's the normal touch point that if there was such a thing as a reversion, that's usually when you would start that. So it would help with that. Plus it would, that's also the same time they have to turn in their next budget stuff. So it's good timing on that. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, since the whole issue of bears and green boxes came up, I wanted to let you all know that I have been sent a draft version of the Virginia Bear Management Plan. So it's all 122 pages of it. So I'm on in the committee that's supposed to review that and offer suggestions. So I will do that here in the next several days, but just wanted to let you know that that is moving forward and try to get some of that done. So that's something extra I've added to this.
maybe
The video? Take a picture. Yeah, I've gone by I go by different green boxes now, and I noticed that there's one that I've seen raccoons and several buzzards, and so, yeah, it's been very interesting taking stuff out. Oh, not bad. Mhm. Yeah, have something to walk out in the fence and, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So we'll work through that a little bit, but I thought you all would appreciate that. Another thing I needed to add, real quick is that, we've gotten notice from VDOT that they have a broken pipe out at the rec park and that they need to pull up and fix. So they're gonna do that July 31st through August 4th. And so during those days, we will not be having anything out at the rec park. And so they've been working with Jacob today to try to set the dates so we avoid things. Yeah, which made me wonder. I put a note on here, like maybe we should do ours around the same time. Except for we might have to drive over their site to get to ours. Yeah, maybe not, but we might look into it. That's right. That's right. And then I also wanted to add an update a little bit. I know we've been real focused on the bank, and so thank you, Mr. Chairman, for signing all of that. Kim is going to double check everything is done, and then assuming it is, then I'll run the whole packet to Christiansburg tomorrow morning. So then the plan is to close on Friday. So everything will be in. So that's all been taken care of. So yay. Yeah, and there was
Has the
some.
bank signed?
No, not close on the billing, but.
Close on the loan.
Oh, gotcha.
Close on the
Right.
loan, and then
Right.
we still have to.
Gotcha.
So Steve, the process that thank you, Steve and Reed and those guys put together from Sands Anderson. So once we close on the loan on Friday, then the money will flow to escrow, which is actually in that local government investment pool. That account that's had $1.44 in it, going back to treasurers. We're going to use that account now, and they're going to put the money in there. And so we're kind of excited about that because it's making 5.2%. It's making big money. So, but we're going to park it there in escrow until all the work is done on the contract with the bank, the Skyline Bank. And then at that point, we'll be able to pull it out. But that's where it's going to sit. So that's where we are in that process. There were some small changes related to parking, and so we gave up a little bit more parking, but we got a deeded easement for the drive-through access. And then also Kim helped to negotiate out the final part, so she got us a little more of the green space out of the back of the Profit House. So that'll be where we can have picnic tables and that kind of thing. So we're excited about all of that going forward. So circling back to the courthouse and where we are on some of that, Mark and I and Dan were up there today with some of the carpet people. And so we're working on putting together that second small courtroom upstairs that would also be available for elections and of course for other folks too. So we're getting quotes back on some carpets, and we've kind of decided to go with a bluish theme for that. We'll be painting the long sidewalls a light blue and the ends a dark blue to make it, we thought that made it look a little bit more professional and legal looking. Funny speaking, the paint color, or the one we picked out for the carpet is actually called Free Speech, on a line called Speaking Freely. So we found that kind of amusing to do for a courtroom. So we're moving forward on getting that work done as soon as we can, and that's kind of one of the last big pieces that the judge had requested. One of the other pieces is, of course, expanding Rhonda's space into the treasurer's old space. And so Rhonda and I spoke today, and she informed me that she has a fund that will be able to help finance that, both the painting and cutting a hole through a doorway. So we've talked through that, and so came back and told Mark. So we'll start getting somebody contracted to do that work for her pretty quickly. So we'll be able to move forward, but without using our folks, because we're gonna need them to do a bunch of work at Skyline pretty soon, so. But all that, pretty happy about that, and it turns out the colors we picked are very close to the ones that are in Rhonda's office that she picked, so she liked that combination.
Oh, good.
Let's see, so I think those were all the things outside of my list, so I'll go from the bottom. In terms of the tourism agreement, I'll need to send it back around to you all, but it automatically, so that's the agreement between us and the town, creating the tourism group and outlining the management and contribution of that. And so that automatically renews June 30th. Andrew and I are happy with how it's working. It's been interesting changing town managers. You know, Andrew's personality is a little different than Kayla's, but it's worked out really well. And so just let us know if you have any concerns. But right now, our recommendation to everybody is to move forward with the way it is. We can always give more money if we come up with it, but it does have in there what our requirement is, which is what is required by law. Dog fence bid. So we have the documents out asking for bids for the space there next to animal control. And a couple of different groups are interested in help funding that. So we'll move forward as quickly as we can on that. But I get it on an email every day about it. So people are pretty excited about moving forward with this. On the Floyd Fun Day calendar, we're going to have Jenny start helping us a little bit with that because she likes doing event stuff and is good at those kind of details. And one of the things that we're going to have a gentleman come work with some of the kids who has been on The Voice. And Jennifer Hudson was his coach. So he's going to, so we're going to have him come work with the kids for a while and then have them maybe perform a song or something together. And then he'll perform a little bit more. I've also purchased a little more of his time that we'll see where else we can maybe use it. The 29th, July 29th. That's Saturday. Yes. And so we're kind of working through getting all that going. And I think that's it on the bank. I just gave you the bank update on that. So I think that's where we are. And then lastly, I would put on here I was thinking it might be a good time to start thinking about when we would have, if you all were game, another board retreat day. Maybe we can make it just a little bit longer, a little more interactive than we did last time. Everybody didn't know each other as well then. I think now you do. But maybe.
We're on it. Yeah, there.
Yep. Yeah, so you're all on it. So maybe if we start looking for dates, I don't know, maybe August, first part of August, if that works for folks. Just trying to start thinking through, some of these things related to the comprehensive plan and transportation and capital are three of the areas that I keep thinking about, where I might have other thoughts. So, and then also letting you know, I would like to go ahead and do a staff retreat for our folks and some of the department heads. And it's something I normally would do sooner, but we kind of hit the ground running a little bit, Kim and I, but I think it'd be good if we could do that. And it's really important, of course, for you all to know what direction you're going, but I also think it's important for the staff to kind of establish these are our core values. This is what we care about. This is what we think our mission as staff should be, which of course needs to align with yours, but it should also be a little bit different because our role is different. So just wanted to put those things on your radar. I think might use some of this either Myers-Briggs or strengths-based leadership kind of things with the staff. I think that could be interesting.
Yeah, those are always fun.
Yeah, I think we could also do something like that with y'all if you're interested or not. You know each other a little better now, so I think it might work better than it did last time. But in any case, and then the real quick. Yes, it's fine. I failed to do a shout out thank you to Tanner. So you all, of course, all saw the email about our unfortunate ambulance incident. But Tanner Towing is the one that came and brought it back to where it is now residing at the garage here. And they did that for free. So that was
Has
really
the
it.
insurance company looked at it yet?
Kim has put in our initial information and we have put in a request now instead of having anyone here look at it. We have asked for them to send someone out because while we think the world of the folks at BNS and all of our local folks, it's a very different machine than most of the stuff they look at. And we are deeply concerned that it is not going to be usable.
I almost wonder if we should get Mr. Betts.
I was getting ready to say that I feel like from what I've been told, that it's probably,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We think, well, and part of what this was Kim's good thinking about it is if we continue to push Kim and Kevin that, they may know of someplace that could actually, that specializes in fixing these and looking at these, or even a way to help facilitate us getting a new one. Because we're looking at 2-3 years for a new one.
No, I mean, it's a long time to wait in a company.
Back supply.
it take off refurbishment. I said 100,000. Jerry said he thought it was a few months later.
Well, that was the whole, what did the last ambulance cost us? I think it was 150. The new one cost like 263,000. About half a fire truck. It was like 263. Yeah, fire truck. So it's like 263,000 for the new one. And then the box was like 125 to 150.
You're right, though, that we did get a new box put on an old one.
Yeah, the one that.
Right around the time I got here, we all were doing.
That was
This particular one, we used
Yes.
it sits still.
It's got a lot of mileage.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, you're driving people at high speeds. You can't,
I would resist if they said they were going to send it somewhere that rain right
you know.
It ain't gonna happen.
Well, and that was just what you guys are thinking, that was the intent of kind of me pushing, no estimate from here, send the appraiser.
Yep.
Because from what's being reported and kind of navigating them, suspension, carriage, hydraulic axles, bent wheel frames, this is a concern, it cannot be driven. Therefore, I need you to send, so it's laying that groundwork, like you said, of reality, but making it, no. 100%. But they were. Correct, and usually they push for independently us to taking it to BNS, and I'm not just saying that, but just a local place, bless you. Thank you. A local place to get an estimate, because it just clears their
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so so that was the intent. And Kevin and Linda and I, we were like, yeah, let's just
Get off and then find this year causing it. So some.
Right?
Years ago when we did accident investigation stuff, I'm gonna take a look at the lead out. They told us if you had a dent, you covered it with your hand, it was already 95. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And then the final thing was kind of a question to make sure you guys are okay with this, which you all might know. I sent something to the chairman. Morgan Griffin's office has been having constituent service day. And they've been using the town hall. Now it's not, the congressman doesn't come, it's some of his staff that come. They've been using town hall. Town hall is now closed. So they're wondering if they could use some of our space, maybe over where Jacob used to be, for when they come. And so just because this is something we have not been doing, wanted to double check you all were good with that. My only recommendation would be is if we're going to do that, we probably should just know that the other, the senatorial offices might at some time ask. And these would be for the folks who are obviously elected, not for people who are wanting to be.
When I first read that, I thought that they was talking about the conference room right here.
Mhm.
And I was saying,
It's too full, too full.
Yeah.
So, over here, I don't, art room.
Okay, I just wanted to double check with y'all. I mean, the extension folks have been using that space, some for classes and things, but for 4-H. But we can certainly carve out part of one day a month.
Little figure.
That's right.
Sweet.
There you go. And Mr. Chairman, that's all that I have. Kim, do you have anything?
Perfect Ink Shop also still.
Still scheduled.
Yeah, well, at some point they're still scheduled, although we were trying to figure out if we could get them actually up to the rec. It's tough though, because that would take several weeks out of the MMA schedule, which is going really well. So we might have to, that's a good point to work out for 2 months. They could come somewhere else. Yeah. Yeah. Good place. Yeah. Well, we'll continue. Yeah, we have communicated to them that the county's intends to continue to host them in an appropriate spot. So, Mr. Chairman, I think that's.
I really like this starting at 5:30 because it is still a little bit.
All right, what sunset was, did we make it? Official sunset?
I'll second.
On the motion to adjourn until our next daytime meeting, regular scheduled daytime meeting. Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yeah.
Mr. Booth?
Yeah.
And Mr. Turner?
Yes.
All right.